Teamsters at UPS had never been asked or forced to work harder than they have in the last 5 years. We saw an explosion of e-commerce. We survived a pandemic, and we saw UPS profits reach higher heights than ever before. For the first time, UPS revenue peaked over $100 billion. But these days, everything at UPS is peak. One unending peak season. Now, more than ever, Teamsters at UPS are overworked and underpaid. Since the last Teamster contract in 2018, the UPS stock price has doubled. UPS profits have doubled. And don't get me started on the billions spent on stock buybacks. Across the country, Teamsters at UPS are using their voices to talk about what really matters to them. In their own words, this is what they need. This is what they want. This is what they've earned. It is their hard work that has made this company rich.
Wages are the #1 issue in the upcoming contract negotiation, especially for our part-time members. Our part-time members work long hours, hard, strenuous hours in a very fast-paced environment. In years past, they made more in our buildings than they do out in your average retail shop. Nowadays, it's just no longer the case, and the juices is not worth the squeeze for these guys and girls working inside of our buildings. We've all come together, we're united, and we stand together for better wages for our part-time members.
What the part-timers really need is increase in wages. We're not appreciated, but we need compensation for the hard work that we do.
This contract is extremely important to all of us, not only through COVID and everything that's going on in our world today. Of course, everybody needs more, we need better wages and stuff because the economy has gone up, all the food has gone up, gasoline's gone up, just to make it to work every day.
Our part-timers, they need to get paid more. They are the heart and soul of this company, and it all starts there. And that's where my day starts, with a good load in my truck. Makes my day easier. You got to keep up with cost of living, you got to keep up with inflation, and you got to pay these guys more.
We have been working tirelessly year after year. That's why we're asking for higher wages, because UPS is making record profit and we deserve more. We're standing together on this contract to get higher wages.
One thing I wanted to talk about was the 22-4 position. I think that that's something that needs to be addressed. I think as a union, we are supposed to be one. We're supposed to stand as one, have the same, reap the same benefits. And I think that that position kind of drives the wedge between the 0300s and the 22-4s, because they do pretty much the same work we do for very little pay, no benefits, no rights. And so that's, a big topic. I think that we should address that this year in the new contract.
With this next contract, I would really like to see fairness approached in our contract. We need to do something about our 22-4s. They're stepped on and not treated equally. That needs to change. We do so much for this company, and I would like to see the company step up and do what they need to do to take care of all the drivers who step out on road for them every day.
We have an issue of concern with y'all in regards to this 22-4 job that came available in 2018. It was confusion at first, but it's doubled down on us. We're gonna have to alleviate that position. You're either they're full-time package car drivers or they're nothing. Because it can't be battling back and forth, going from inside, outside, and you're paying them half the pay rate as you pay our regular package car drivers. We as Teamsters want one thing in this contract. We want you to rid this corporation of a 22-4 position.
With this new contract, I'd like to see getting rid of the 224 altogether. I want the same rights as everybody else. Get rid of the 6-day punches and quit messing with our pay. They just dropped our pay, no notice. So.
It's not fair when you come to work and the Teamster next to you is making more or less money. This wage system was created only to benefit the company and not the employee. And I 100% believe this needs to be removed by the next contract.
The 6-day punch has been a tremendous burden on the guys that have been forced in 6 days a week for the last 3 years. It puts a burden on their family and their health. I've seen guys mentally break down to tears because they're being forced in 6 days a week. I've seen it affect their marriages. Some of them have ended up quitting who have been very, very good drivers. UPS has lost some very good drivers because they're forced them to work 6 days a week. This job is too hard. You can't recover in one day. And we do have lives outside of UPS. You know, they can't plan anything for their weekend because they're being told 48 hours ahead of time that they have to come in. So basically they're not planning anything. And the stress that it puts on the families is tremendous.
I've been forced to work 6 days since November of 2019. It's kind of the peak that never stopped. And unfortunately, being in the Atlantic area supplement, we have no protection against working 6 days, and we're governed by the language that we voted against in Article 22. It's quite exhausting. And it's difficult to make time for your family. It's especially difficult this last weekend with daylight savings time. We lost an hour on the 1 day off we have. The 1 day off to run errands, get groceries. You have no free time to do literally anything else. You have to call off work under threat of discipline.
Forced overtime is, detrimental in so many ways to people. It affects their relationships with their families. It affects their health, and just their mental well-being. You do have to have a good work-life balance. Work hard, but you also have to have time to rest. You also have to have time to, take care of your house and your children and your spouse, and when you're working 6 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day, you just don't have time for anything else, and you're exhausted. The one day that you get off, you're just exhausted, and, it's hurting people.
Talk about the inward-facing cameras, how that's invading our privacy. We already have enough that's tracking us and enough to deal with on the road to worry about them tracking, watching everything that we do. That would just be more conscious and worried about the camera instead of concentrating on the road.
One of the issues I have is these front-facing cameras. They're trying to utilize them on the inside now. I don't feel that's right. I think that we should be entrusted to do our daily jobs. We are very responsible people. We know how to do our jobs correctly. There are plenty of other tools that the company already has as far as telematics that can go all the way down to the millisecond of how much your bulkhead is open and closed, to when your seatbelt is on or off, to speeding, to various other forms, to GPS exactly where you are and when you are there. Also, your diad also tracks you. So even if you're away from your vehicle, you can still be tracked by your diad. I don't feel that we need another system to be added into the equation when you have various other ones already in place. And at that point, I would consider it to be overly supervising, and I feel that it's wrong and shouldn't be utilized or continued.
One of the issues that is going to be coming up is the inward-facing cameras. I feel like that's an invasion of personal space. It's an invasion of privacy. It can also be spun around by the company as disciplinary actions for certain issues like that. For something as much as just reaching for a bottle of water and drinking it, they'll say that's distracted driving. They could use it as a tactic of harassment, because if the company feels like they have an issue with an employee, they'll just turn around and make that inward-facing camera a tool to harass employees. And basically, I just feel like it's just an issue that needs to be addressed and should not be allowed, period.
I'd like to see more full-time jobs for part-timers in the new contract. That's a big issue in my mind.
I would like to see the benefits stay at the same level of care that we have right now. I want to see increased contribution to the pension program.
I'm 50 years old. I've been with the company for 31 years now. My biggest concern, my biggest thing is I like to see the pension stay solvent and stay good. So more pension contribution would be nice from the company.
And one of the other issues we have is excessive heat. It's in our contract we should have a fan in our truck upon request. Fan blowing hot air is just fan blowing hot air. I know we can't get air conditioning like that we want, but we need some kind of other option, especially in these hot climate states. Like Houston, where it's like 100 outside and 135 inside.
4 years ago, I suffered what was told to me after leaving the emergency room was a heat stroke. The symptoms came on early afternoon and I powered through it. I tried to get through it, work through it, continued to hydrate myself and just keep my thumb on the pulse of how I was feeling. It just continued to progress to the point where I did send a message in via the dyad and I heard no response back. It was around 3:45, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I had to take a seat in someone's front yard, try to find some shelter, some shade outside of the package car. And I guess I'd gotten to the point of no return. It progressed. Several minutes have passed by. I haven't heard from management or anybody else. So I took it upon myself to drive to the local fire department, which was probably about 2 miles away. Inside the fire department, they quickly administered aid to me. They had put probably a half dozen to 8 ice packs all over my body, and I was so bad that I could not even feel the ice packs. They immediately put me in the ambulance and took me to the local hospital. It's sad to know that a lot of us go out to work every single day and risk our lives, and there's no reason that any of us should worry about death on the job, dying of a heat stroke or any kind of severe heat-related illness.
My main concern is during peak season we have PVD drivers and they're taking work away from my family consistently. This year I barely had over 8 hours, half the dispatch. I had to work Saturdays when I'm having to clean up a lot of their work.
Our biggest issue was with the PVDs is that we would be done and they didn't have enough work for us, so they tried to code 5 us, meaning we only get paid for the hours we worked when we're guaranteed 8 because they gave all the extra work to the PVD drivers who are making as much, if not more than some of us newer drivers. And so that was an issue because I'd be done and they would have no more work for me. And when I asked if I could go help the PVDs so that I can get my guaranteed 8 hours, they refused and had me just wash trucks and fold bags and everything along those lines.
PVD drivers are a major issue in the next contract. They're sloppy, they make the company look bad, they make the union look bad. We want to put an end to it in the next contract.
PVDs is it's something that none of us enjoy at the end of the day because it's pretty much undercutting the work we have now for the drivers that are union that deserve to be running that work. It's not fair even for the PVD guys, man, as far as pay, benefits, and things of that nature. So I personally feel like it's another tool in UPS's back pocket to try to cause that division. And I say we get rid of it and let the work be for the union workers.
For us in particular, in feeders, subcontracting is just a giant issue. It's huge. It's 24/7. They're coming on the property all the time. We've got plenty of people that have plenty of opportunities to go do all this work, and somebody else is doing it for us. It's ridiculous.
I'd say the biggest issue in the feeder is subcontracting. It's a serious issue, serious problem. Non-Teamster labor pulling our trailers, our work, you know, that should be a brown-shirted Teamster member doing that work, getting that living wage job and the health and welfare that goes along with it, the pension. And so when it's being subcontracted out, the whole group is hurt and affected by that. We don't get that good job for somebody's family. We don't get the pension money put into the pension on their behalf. So we gotta eliminate that.
Martin Luther King had a dream, and everybody has been observing that dream. And they finally, after all these years, got to a point where they say, you know what, we're gonna make a federal holiday of it. And you have all these other places where it's a paid holiday, it's a rightfully observed holiday, until you get to UPS. And they say, hey, we'll tell you, you can have the day off, but it's not paid. So it's technically not a holiday to us.
All UPS workers nationwide should get MLK Day and Juneteenth as a paid holiday. UPS like to talk about diversity and equality. It's time for UPS to put their money where their mouth is.
Believe it or not, it's not difficult for the Teamsters and UPS to get along. After all, we agree on one important truth. UPS is the best logistics company in the world. But don't forget, this is because UPS has the best workforce in the world. The Teamsters believe all UPS workers deserve to be compensated, rewarded, and respected for everything they've done to make this company so successful. In 2023, that's what these contract negotiations are all about. Teamsters at UPS can't just survive, they need to thrive. Just like the company itself. If we're all going to come out winners, UPS needs to treat our full-time and our part-time members like the champions they really are. Our union, all 1.2 million of us, will accept nothing less.
Who are we? Teamsters! Who are we? Teamsters! Who are we? Teamsters!